Unfortunately, in today's world, there are still significant social justice issues that need to be addressed. Let's explore some of the biggest social justice issues currently facing the world. Racism is a deeply ingrained social justice issue that affects individuals and communities around the world. People of colour continue to face discrimination, prejudice, and marginalisation in many areas of life, including employment, housing, and education. According to a report by the United Nations, over 1 in 4 adults in the world admit to holding discriminatory attitudes towards people of other races. Racial disparities also exist in healthcare, with people of colour facing a higher risk of diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, and COVID-19. Police brutality against people of colour has also gained widespread attention, with black individuals in the United States being 3 times more likely to be killed by police than white individuals. Addressing racism requires a range of actions including education, awareness raising, and the implementation of policies that promote equality and diversity. One of the greatest threats currently facing humanity is climate change. The effects of climate change can be seen and felt globally, and we're only just beginning to feel the effects. From disastrous bushfires, an increase in flooding, natural disasters, to the polar ice caps melting at accelerated speeds, the threat that climate change poses to humanity is more evident than ever before. As the climate continues to change, millions of people face increasing challenges in terms of extreme events, health effects, food, water and livelihood security, migration and forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. Global temperatures have increased by 1.1 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times, and are projected to increase by 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2040. These temperature increases have also led to more frequent and severe weather events, rising sea levels, and loss of biodiversity. Addressing climate change and promoting environmental justice can involve a range of actions, including reducing greenhouse gas emissions, investing in renewable energy, and ensuring that the benefits of environmental protections are distributed equitably. Access to healthcare is a fundamental human right. However, in many parts of the world, it is still a luxury that only the wealthy can afford. Inequality in healthcare is a significant social justice issue, as it affects the most vulnerable members of society. Yet many individuals around the world still lack access to quality care. According to the World Health Organization, at least half of the world's population lacks access to essential health services. In addition to issues with access and affordability, healthcare disparities also exist across different populations, with certain groups having higher rates of disease and outcomes are often inadequate and poorer. Addressing healthcare disparities and ensuring access to quality care for all can involve a range of actions, including expanding access to insurance, increasing funding for public health initiatives, and promoting diversity and equity in healthcare. The refugee crisis is a significant issue that has been exacerbated by ongoing conflicts and instability in many parts of the world. Millions of people are forced to flee their homes every year, often due to violence, persecution, or natural disasters. These refugees face numerous challenges, including limited access to basic necessities such as food, shelter, and healthcare. UN figures indicate that nearly 70 million people have been forced to flee from home, of which nearly 30 million have ended up in refugee camps all over the world. Refugees often face a range of challenges, including limited access to basic necessities such as food, water, and shelter, as well as discrimination and xenophobia in their host countries. Current refugee policies have not come close to the expected levels, and there is a lot more countries could be doing to help fix the situation and give displaced people a place to call home. Addressing the refugee crisis requires a collective effort. This can involve providing financial support to organizations that assist refugees, increasing resettlement programs, and promoting policies that prioritize the safety and well-being of refugees. Economic inequality is another significant issue. In many societies, there is a large wealth gap between the rich and the poor. This inequality often leads to social and economic exclusion of disadvantaged groups, making it difficult for them to access essential services such as healthcare, education, and housing. Income inequality has increased over the past several decades, with the top 1% of households holding more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. Inequality can have a range of negative impacts, including limited access to education, healthcare, and other basic necessities. Additionally, certain populations such as women, people of colour, and individuals from low-income backgrounds often face higher levels of inequality and discrimination. Addressing inequality requires a multifaceted approach that includes policies that promote economic opportunity and equity, as well as efforts to challenge biases and discrimination in society. This can involve actions such as increasing access to affordable housing and healthcare, raising the minimum wage, and promoting diversity and inclusion. Gender inequality remains a pervasive social justice issue, with women and girls around the world facing discrimination and marginalization on a range of fronts. Women earn only 77 cents for every dollar earned by men. Gender-based violence also remains a significant challenge, with 1 in 3 women globally experiencing physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. Transgender individuals are also at increased risk of violence and discrimination, with many countries failing to provide legal recognition of their gender identity. Addressing gender inequality requires a range of actions, including increasing representation of women in leadership positions, promoting policies that address the gender pay gap, and implementing measures to prevent gender-based violence. Discrimination against the LGBT+ community is a significant social justice issue that affects millions of people around the world. LGBT+ individuals face discrimination and prejudice in many areas of life, including employment, housing, healthcare, and education. 27% of transgender individuals have been denied housing, and 16% have been homeless at some point in their lives. In addition, 44% of LGBT+ workers report experiencing some form of employment discrimination. In many countries, LGBT+ individuals also face legal discrimination, with laws criminalizing same-sex relationships or imposing restrictions on their ability to adopt children. As of 2021, 69 countries still criminalize same-sex relationships. To address these challenges, governments and communities must be willing to work together to create legal protections for LGBT+ individuals, including anti-discrimination laws and legal recognition of same-sex relationships. Education and awareness campaigns can also help reduce prejudice and discrimination and promote greater acceptance and inclusion of the LGBT+ individuals in society. In addition, programs that address economic inequality and provide support for the LGBT+ individuals can help to reduce poverty and increase access to essential services. Food insecurity, hunger, and poverty are all interconnected social justice issues. Millions of people around the world do not have access to sufficient food, which can lead to malnutrition and hunger. According to the United Nations, an estimated 811 million people globally were undernourished in 2020, and 2 billion people experienced some form of food insecurity. Addressing food insecurity, hunger, and poverty requires a range of actions, including increasing access to affordable, nutritious food and improving economic opportunities for individuals and families. This can involve policies such as increasing funding for food assistance programs, supporting local agriculture and farmers markets, and increasing the minimum wage. Overpopulation is a social justice issue that has a significant impact on the environment and society. As the world's population continues to grow, it places increasing pressure on resources such as food, water, and energy. With the world's population rising at an unprecedented rate, the amount of available resources are depreciating. It is becoming the reason for many other social issues like unemployment, hunger, and poverty. The world's population is expected to reach 8.5 billion people by 2030. Overpopulation can lead to a range of negative impacts, including increased resource depletion, environmental degradation, and reduced quality of life. Addressing overpopulation requires a multifaceted approach that includes introducing policies and initiatives that promote sustainable living and population control. This can involve increasing access to family planning services, promoting education and awareness about the impact of overpopulation on the environment, and supporting sustainable practices such as renewable energy and responsible consumption. Homelessness and housing affordability are significant social justice issues that affect many people around the world. According to the United Nations, an estimated 150 million people worldwide are homeless, and many more are at risk of becoming homeless. Many more live in inadequate or insecure housing. Homelessness can have severe consequences for individuals and families. including poor health outcomes, increased risk of violence and exploitation, and limited access to education and employment opportunities. Homelessness is often the result of a combination of factors, including poverty, unemployment, lack of affordable housing, and mental health and substance abuse issues. Housing affordability is a key factor contributing to homelessness, with many individuals and families unable to afford the high cost of rent or mortgage payments. In some countries, this issue is exacerbated by a lack of affordable housing options and increasing income inequality, and it's a problem that is only going to continue to worsen. Addressing homelessness and housing affordability requires a range of actions, including increasing access to affordable housing and providing support services to individuals and families experiencing homelessness. This can involve policies such as increasing funding for affordable housing programs, implementing rent control measures, and providing support services. Access to education is a fundamental human right, yet millions of individuals around the world are denied this right due to a range of social and economic factors. According to UNESCO, approximately 258 million children and youth weren't attending school, and 750 million adults are illiterate. Lack of access to education can perpetuate cycles of poverty and inequality, with individuals unable to access the knowledge and skills needed to improve their lives and contribute to their communities. This issue is particularly acute for marginalized communities and individuals living in conflict-affected areas. Addressing access to education requires a range of actions, including increasing funding for educational programs, providing support services such as school meals and transportation, and promoting policies that reduce barriers to education such as gender-based discrimination. Working to ensure that all individuals have access to quality education ensures that people can break free from the cycle of inequality. The digital divide refers to the gap between individuals and communities that have access to technology and those who don't. In today's digital age, access to technology is essential for communication, education, and economic opportunities. However, not everyone has equal access to technology, creating a significant social justice issue. The digital divide disproportionately affects low-income communities, communities of colour, and rural communities. Over half of the world's population is still without internet access, with the majority of those individuals living in low-income countries. Lack of access to digital technologies can exacerbate existing inequalities, with individuals unable to access vital services such as healthcare, education, and financial services. It can also limit opportunities for employment and economic growth, particularly in an increasingly digitized global economy. Addressing the digital divide requires a range of actions, including increasing access to digital infrastructure, promoting digital literacy and skills development, and providing support services such as low-cost devices and internet connectivity. These are just some of the biggest issues we're facing, and as you can see, there is overlap with many of them.